if you switch to a carnivore diet from a standard American diet, you will lose weight. And there's a simple reason for why people lose weight on these extreme diets. The carnivore diet cuts out. Hi friends, if you want to lose weight, you're going to have to pick a diet camp. You're either going to be high fat and low carb, high carb and low fat, or you could be high in protein and low in carbs. There's a growing trend of extreme diets to lose weight. Keto, carnivore, paleo, many social media influencers are actually physicians that advocate for these diets. But before they became popular, doctors have tested obesity with fasting, low calories, and even the rice diet. And guess what? They were all successful at reversing obesity. But here's a catch. These diets, they often lead to nutritional deficiencies because they all prioritize macronutrient manipulation over micronutrients, which your body needs to process these macronutrients. Your body is an energy machine. And yes, it needs calories for your energy, but you need the micronutrients to convert these calories into energy efficiently. On top of that, the nutrients that you eat, they are building blocks for your body's structure and defense. And without the right portions of micronutrients, your body will sacrifice the structure and defense for energy just to keep the lights on. This can leave you depleted in critical infrastructure, especially when it comes to your immune defenses, and leave you vulnerable to cancers, infections, and diseases. So what's the point of dieting and looking great if you're just going to end up down under faster? Nobody's going to comment on your six-pack or flat stomach when they're looking in your coffin. So in this video, we're going to compare these different popular diet camps, talk about the myths and the real truths. And no, I've never done an extreme diet, nor do I ever plan to, not even to make a video. I view my body as a used car that needs more maintenance as I grow older. Would you ever put diesel in your unleaded car? Even a little bit? No, because you know you're going to ruin your engine. You're going to break your car. And once you put that diesel in that gasoline tank, the only way to get it out is to pump it out. And unfortunately, once we eat toxins in our body, we don't have a way to pump that out. And the organs that protect me from my toxins, the kidney and the liver, well, they're going to just get damaged if I abuse what I put in my mouth. They do a great job, but not all toxins can be cleared out. Many are trapped in your liver and kidney. So if you see those people eating like 100 days of pure butter or pure whatever, all I can say is good luck to them. I hope their views are worth their biochemical insults that they will accumulate in their body. Extreme diets are unnatural, and they are just as unnatural as medications that I prescribe. And what people don't get is that everything that you eat, whether it's real natural foods or synthetic chemicals designed by pharmaceuticals or processed food companies, they are a chemical input. There is a therapeutic window for everything, all these chemical inputs. So whether we're talking about a protein, a carbohydrate, a fat, or an antibiotic, or a statin, or a blood pressure medication, they all have a therapeutic window. We just know more about prescription drugs because the FDA requires that they be tested in animals and then in humans before they are sold on the market. There aren't any rules to sell you stuff in your food. So the synthetic chemicals that you are eating in your foods, they aren't following any guidelines. We don't know whether or not they are safe. Do you like colorful foods, chocolate candy, cereals, birthday cakes? Red 40 or Laura Red, they're found in candies, soft drinks, and baked goods. Yellow 5, tartrazine, used in chips, desserts, and beverages. Yellow 6 are common in cereals, desserts, and flavored snacks. Blue 1 and 2, they're found in candies, beverages, and processed snacks. By themselves, they make food look so pretty, but they taste horrible, and that's where flavors come in. Add flavor to any compound, and people will eat more of it. Monosodium glutamate, MSG, enhances savory flavors in soups, rice, snacks, frozen meals, artificial vanilla, vanillin. That's a synthetic version of the natural vanilla used in baked goods and ice cream. Ethyl maltol. It provides a sweet caramel-like flavor in candies and desserts. And whenever you sweeten a food, especially if you can sweeten it without a calorie, well, that's just a super added bonus, right? Synthetic sweeteners like aspartame are found in diet sodas, sugar-free gum, and low-calorie desserts. This, by the way, was just classified as a possible carcinogen by the WHO. Saccharin is a calorie-free sweetener used in sugar-free beverages and snacks. Sucralose, a popular sugar substitute found in processed foods. But these chemicals are all separate unless you have an emulsifier. And hence, that's where polysorbate 80 helps mix ingredients in ice cream and salad dressings. Carboxyl methyl cellulose, a thickener used in sauces, baked goods, and ice cream. Lecithin, often synthetic, used to stabilize chocolate, baked goods, and margarine. But food actually goes bad quickly. So to extend their shelf life, that's where they're going to put preservatives. Sodium benzoate. It prevents bacteria and mold to grow, like in sodas. Potassium sorbate. It's used in baked goods, dairy, and beverages. It also inhibits mold and yeast. Butylate hydroxytoluene are a preservative in cereal, snacks, and chewing gum. Butylated hydroxyanisole. They're similar to BHT found in packaged goods and oils. Sodium nitrate. It preserves processed meats and gives them their pink color. They also prevent bacterial growth. Your gut microbiome is made out of trillions of bacteria and fungi. What do you think these things are doing to your gut microbiome? So every time you eat a food with a preservative, emulsifier, sweetener, flavor, food dye, you are changing your gut microbiome for the worse. And when you change your gut microbiome, it also changes how you metabolize pharmaceuticals that you will need when you are sick. We have ample evidence to show that your response to chemotherapy when you get cancer is dependent upon your gut microbiome. And that's not something you can fix in a day. When you change your diet, your gut microbiome will also change and improve. And when that improves, your immunity improves. Your gut is your largest immune system. And when you lose that organ, you will lose your health. You can ask anybody who has inflammatory bowel syndrome or who have lost their colon or small intestine or stomach if they are able to live a normal life away from the medical system. There is no medical condition that isn't affected by a bad gut microbiome. Every chemical, whether it's a food or medicine, has a therapeutic window. And our bodies are biochemical machines to process whatever you're eating. So every time you put input, you're actually changing your body for the better or worse. So let's first start with the carnivore diet. Now, people think that's high in protein, but today's meat is also very high in fat. Modern livestock is fed unnatural diets to grow them rapidly with hormones and chemicals, and they're also treated with antibiotics. So when you eat a diet high in animal protein, you are exposed to multi-drug resistant bacteria that can contaminate your home even if you don't eat that food. And when it's in your home, then it's just one touch away from colonizing your microbiome. Studies have traced multi-drug resistant urinary tract infections to food, specifically contaminated chicken with antibiotic resistant bacteria. Now, in addition, a diet high in animal protein means you're eating a diet high in nitrogen, which burdens your liver and kidneys. And your number one detoxification organ for all the various chemicals that you're eating and breathing and touching are your liver and kidneys. The carnivore diet is also high in methionine, a compound linked to accelerated cancer growth. Now, when you process that nitrogen, your body has to convert that ammonia, a toxic byproduct of protein metabolism, into urea. Now, this stresses your kidneys and your liver. A diet high in red meat is also linked to a higher rate of insulin resistance, which leads to diabetes. Red meat also has heme protein, which is toxic to your colonic cells. And that's why a diet high in red meat is linked to higher rates of colorectal cancers. But if you switch to a carnivore diet from a standard American diet, you will lose weight. And there's a simple reason for why people lose weight on these extreme diets. It's very logical, makes perfect sense. A carnivore diet cuts out the major driver for insulin, which is carbohydrates. And when you lower your insulin, you will lose weight. We all will lose weight. You are also eating less calories because there's simply less variety. And you're also getting full faster because you're now eating whole food with a lot of protein and fat. Fat and protein, they both delay gastric emptying time. That means your food stays in your stomach longer. Now, when I was young, every time I got sick, my parents would not let me eat any fat or protein. So there were no animal meats, no fats. I had to eat just plain white rice porridge. It was a pretty boring meal, but they said it was better for my digestion. And this is true in many cultures. Even in America, we have the B.R.A.T diet, which stands for bread, rice, applesauce, and toast, which are all high in carbohydrates, low in proteins and fats. And this is a diet that you will be prescribed when you have an upset stomach because carbohydrates are most easily digested compared to the other macronutrients. And the delayed emptying time when you eat fats is also why you don't see a blood sugar spike so quickly when you pair your fats with your carbohydrates. So you will hear influencers telling you to eat fat or protein with your carbohydrates so that you can see less high of a blood sugar spike. You just see it later. It's a false sense of security. Your sugar will just go higher later. And when your blood sugar rises, your insulin will go up and you will continue to gain weight. And this is why you have to pick a diet camp. You can't eat both carbohydrates and fats at the same time. But just because you're losing weight doesn't mean you're going to get healthier. The carnivore diet is severely deficient in gut health promoting nutrients. Number one, there's no fiber. Literally, that's a definition of carnivore diet. You don't need any plants. Fiber is a key to your gut health because that's what your microbiome metabolizes. But there's also more than one type of fiber. So if you're just taking a supplement, you're really missing out. And on top of that, there are molecules attached to the fiber, like polyphenols, that you can only get if you eat the real stuff. And if you can cultivate a healthy gut microbiome, you will help to reduce your inflammation, improve your mood, optimize your mitochondrial metabolism, and add years to your health and longevity. Now, I mentioned that when you eat the real stuff, real food, along with the fiber comes health-promoting micronutrients that are antioxidants, like polyphenols in blueberries and cherries, EGCG found in green tea, nitric oxide found in arugula, and sulforaphanes found in broccoli sprouts. Now, there's another popular extreme diet called a high-fat diet or the ketogenic diet, which was once used to treat seizures. But as I mentioned previously, not all fats are the same. Saturated fat, such as butter, are a mitochondrial toxin. Now, triglycerides, whether you eat them or you make them, can build up in organs like the liver, pancreas, and muscles, wreaking havoc to your metabolism. And if you pick the wrong carbohydrates to choose, like honey or table sugar, well, that fructose gets converted into triglycerides, and that destroys your metabolism over time. Now, like a carnivore diet, a ketogenic diet can help people lose weight because you're lowering your insulin. You are simply also eating less calories. It's hard to eat this stuff. It doesn't really taste good. It's unnatural, unsustainable. There's really no variety. And variety is a key to increasing your appetite and increasing your calories. So that's where processed food comes in. And that's why there's 15,000 new processed foods on the market every year to keep you eating. But it's not exclusive to the standard American diet.
Hi friends, I am so thrilled that you want to take charge of your health and take charge of your food. Now, I know nutrition can be complex, but it doesn't have to be. And I'm here to support you in this lifelong journey. So if you point your camera app to this QR code, it'll take you to a link for a free handout that I created just for you. And if you like it, if you want to see other handouts, please go to the link in my show notes, and then you can leave me your feedback on what I could do to help you in your journey. Okay, back to the video now.
Have you seen how many processed keto products there are? Look at the back of those keto products. They are full of flavor enhancers, emulsifiers, sweeteners, and preservatives. Do you really think that that's good for your health? And without properly monitoring your ketones, you will be easily out of ketosis. And no, this isn't a longevity diet. It hasn't stood the test of time, and unfortunately, lots of influencers find out the hard way that it's like pouring diesel in your car. Now, I keep talking about reducing calories, which is the most common thread of all successful weight loss diets. They will all help you eat less calories. However, counting calories and simply reducing calories may help you in the short term. But in reality, people can't keep it up. Inherently, these are all flawed strategies because number one, not all calories are equal. 100 calories from added sugar versus 100 calories from a whole plant have vastly different metabolic effects. Now, when you eat added sugar, you absorb the sugar quite quickly, which elevates your insulin quite quickly. The higher your insulin, the more weight you'll pack on. But when you eat that same sugar in whole food, let's say you eat a fruit or a bowl of whole grains, you won't gain as much weight as compared to eating a refined grain flour. However, eating processed foods, they may also make you gain weight another way due to added ingredients that disrupt your appetite regulating hormones like ghrelin and leptin. And that will leave you hungrier. And this is why you eat more calories when you eat processed foods. Now, even if you suppress your appetite with, let's say, a GLP-1 agonist, which makes you eat less, your weight will stall if you don't change your food quality and turn your plate into whole foods with fiber. Now, after listening to this, you probably think I'm going to say that vegan diets are the healthiest. Nope, I'm not going to say that, because vegan diets, when not carefully planned, can indeed have negative health consequences. Now, while plant-based eating is widely touted for its health benefits, including improved heart health, reduced cancer risk, but it also can be filled with processed foods that contribute to your insulin spike, disrupt your gut microbiome, and cause you to have a whole host of other metabolic issues. And this is particularly true if your vegan diet is based on convenient processed foods, if it lacks diversity and adequate micronutrients. I mean, literally, Coke and chips are vegan. But when you eat these artificially created vegan foods, you will have insulin spikes. And many of these vegan-friendly processed foods, such as plant-based burgers, vegan cheese, mock meats, packaged snacks, and vegan desserts, are highly processed, loaded with refined carbohydrates, sugar or artificial sweeteners, unhealthy fats, emulsifiers, artificial additives. I mean, all of this leads to poor health outcomes. Refined sugar and carbohydrates are very common in vegan processed foods. They will raise your insulin levels. They will raise your sugar. They will trigger insulin spikes. This all contributes to insulin resistance, a precursor to type 2 diabetes and metabolic syndrome. And when you consume those foods that lead to high insulin levels, they promote fat storage, especially around the abdomen. And this contributes to central obesity and heart disease. And when you eat refined carbohydrates and sugars from these processed foods, this impacts your microbiome. This encourages the growth of harmful bacteria and yeast like Candida. And this imbalance can influence the diversity of the gut microbiota and harm beneficial bacteria like bifidobacteria and lactobacilli. Dysbiosis in your gut microbiome has been linked to numerous chronic diseases, including autoimmune conditions and digestive disorders. A poorly balanced vegan diet could also lead to micronutrient deficiencies, which then undermine your health and metabolism. All vegans, they have to supplement with vitamin B12. Now, this vitamin is only made by microbes, and guess which foods are highly contaminated with microbes? Animal products. And this is why if you eat animal products, you may not need to eat B12. But everybody needs B12 because it's essential for nerve function, red blood cell production, DNA synthesis. And if you have a B12 deficiency, that can lead to anemia, neurological issues, and impaired cognitive function. Many processed vegan foods, they don't contain vitamin B12 unless it's fortified. So it's crucial that you just fortify it on your own. Restrictive diets, including the vegan diet, can be low in critical nutrients. Iron is another micronutrient that you have to worry about if your foods are just basically plants. Lentils and spinach provide non-heme iron that is less well absorbed compared to heme iron found in animal products. So you have to just eat more iron-rich food, because when you lack iron, that can lead to fatigue, weakness, and impaired immune function. Now, you don't necessarily have to take a supplement, especially if you're no longer menstruating, because you don't lose iron unless you are bleeding. If you are menstruating, then you should get with your provider to see how you can formulate your diet to meet your iron needs. Now, another nutrient that's deficient in many vegans and non-vegans, doesn't really matter what diet you're on, omega-3 fats are just low in the population because we don't eat things that have a lot of omega-3 fats. And omega-3 fats are crucial for your brain health, reducing inflammation, and your heart health. Now, if you're vegan, then you're getting your omega-3 sources from alpha-linoleic acid if you eat certain plant foods like flax seeds and walnuts. That then needs to be converted to EPA and DHA. And hence, you have to lower your omega-6 intake because your omega-6 inhibits its conversion. Now, another mineral is zinc, which can be difficult to obtain for many people, billions of people around the world. And everybody needs an adequate amount of zinc in order to live. And zinc is also low in many vegan diets. Without zinc, your immune system will struggle, your wounds will struggle healing, and you'll struggle making proteins. So you may have non-healing ulcers on your skin. And if this is the case, you may want to consider a low-dose supplement. Now, the one thing about a vegan diet is that they usually don't miss protein, which is the myth that people think. People think that animal proteins are superior to plant-based proteins. So you're eating beans, lentil, tofu, and whole grains. You're unlikely to lack essential amino acids, especially if you're eating a diversity of plants. Now, honestly, I've never seen anybody deficient of protein from eating any type of food. I've only seen people protein deficient when they don't eat enough food. Now, many of these compounds that I mentioned in the beginning, they're linked to gut inflammation and metabolic disturbances. And this all leads to an altered gut microbiome, high risk for obesity, high risk for diabetes, and other metabolic diseases. Now, I also mentioned that you have to keep your omega-6 fats low. So a lot of processed vegan diets use a lot of vegan oils in their snacks, baked goods, mock meat. Those oils contain a high amount of omega-6 fats, which are pro-inflammatory in excess. So your omega-6 fatty acids, when they're not in balance with your omega-3 fatty acids, that, remember, can also reduce your omega-3 fat levels. So what's the best diet for health? Have you heard of the Mediterranean diet? The Mediterranean diet is often considered one of the healthiest eating patterns in the world, associated with lower risk of heart disease, diabetes, and even some cancers. However, it's important to understand that there is no single uniform Mediterranean diet. Because in the Mediterranean, there are countries like Italy, Spain, Turkey, Lebanon, and Morocco, each with its own unique dietary habits that are shaped by local culture, agriculture, and history. And the foods consumed in these countries may vary significantly. Yet there are common themes. Number one, they focus on whole foods, plant-based. And number two, they focus on eating healthy fats. Some countries or regions might eat whole grains, while others might emphasize fish and legumes. Now, each country has its own unique food traditions and cultural influences, and not all variations are going to be equally healthy. Now, despite these variations, there are some core principles that form the foundation of the Mediterranean diet, and these principles can be applied to any cultural eating pattern. So these key principles are really shared across the different Mediterranean cultures. So number one, they consume high amounts of fruits and vegetables. But they also eat a variety of foods, which also includes legumes and whole grains. And when you eat these foods, they provide essential macronutrients as well as micronutrients. They provide fiber, antioxidants, and phytochemicals that are vital for your health and longevity. They also eat healthy fats. They emphasize unsaturated fats, particularly those of olive oil, which is the main cooking fat. Olive oils are rich in monounsaturated fats, which are beneficial for your heart health. They also eat nuts and seeds that provide fiber and healthy fats. And all of these are lower in saturated fat. Now, they do consume a moderate amount of fish and seafood, especially fatty fish like salmon, sardines, and mackerel. They are a key source of omega-3 fatty acids, which are beneficial for your brain health, to reduce inflammation, and to promote your heart health. However, you don't have to eat sea animals. You just need to make sure you get a supplement or you're focused on eating omega-3 fats in your plant-based diet. Now, I choose not to eat sea animals because I don't want to eat from a giant toilet bowl. And besides, sea animals get their omega-3s from algae, so you might as well go directly to the source. Now, all of these regions, they limit red meat consumption, especially processed meats, and so they consume it sparingly. And people will eat fish more regularly. They also eat beans. Legumes and tofu are also used as protein sources. They eat herbs and spices, flavoring foods like basil, oregano, garlic, rosemary, thyme, that reduces the need for added salt. They also are antioxidants by themselves, and they reduce inflammation. Another key is that they eat their foods whole. It's minimally processed. So they take pride in their cooking, and they don't just buy stuff created with a bunch of chemicals with artificial ingredients and preservatives. And another important key is that they are sociable. They eat together. And when you eat together, you become more mindful of your eating. It's important to share your meals with family and friends in a relaxed setting. This promotes better digestion and just better relationship with your food. The Mediterranean diet emphasizes the importance of community and slowing down to enjoy your meal. Far too many people, they're eating alone. And when you eat alone, you tend to eat faster and you tend to eat poorer quality food. Now, you can apply these principles to any cultural diet by focusing on whole food, plant-based, eating healthy fats, being mindful of your protein from animals, and substituting that protein with legumes and beans, and eating your food minimally processed. And that's my diet. I basically eat a predominantly Asian diet. That's what I grew up with. And many Asian cuisines, particularly in the East and Southeast Asia, they emphasize vegetables, tofu, legumes, which are in line with the Mediterranean principles. And Asian cultures traditionally use a lot of spices to flavor their food: garlic, ginger, lemongrass, and fresh herbs. And in fact, several Asian countries hold the world record for the longest living people. Now, if you're from Latin America or you like Latin American foods, you can also adjust that diet to Mediterranean principles with the emphasis on whole, fresh produce like corns, beans, and vegetables and fruits. If you're from Africa, a large part of Africa already eat Mediterranean-like principles because they eat whole grains, legumes, and vegetables. And did you know that the Boston Marathon winners are pretty consistently from Africa? Now, what all these healthy diets have in common is a diversity of whole food, fiber, spices, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and an adequate amount of protein, carbohydrates, and essential fats. And all these nutrients together, they will nourish your body and your gut microbiome to tame your immune system and bad inflammation. But if you want to learn more about specific foods to eat, watch the next video.